start the case directly, and we have the eminent panelists there sitting on the dais, Dr. Nabi, Dr. Joshi, Dr. Vaikar. So, and we have a very young, brilliant fellow, Dr. Shah. So he had sent me the slides, which are very good, and I had to modify a little. Not much of effort was to be done but from my side. So here you are a very good student. Please start.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm presenting a case of a 6-week-old baby who was brought to us with complaints of persistent jaundice, noticed a few days after birth. I would like to start from the birth history. The baby was a boy born of a non-consanguineous union, IVF twin pregnancy, first birth order. Baby was the second twin delivered, full term by elective LSCS. Birth weight was 2.4 kilograms. Breastfeeding was established and was exclusively breastfed. On day of life, the treating doctor noted icterus, and the baby was discharged and was asked to follow up after a week.
Right. What is your point of interest here in this child? Point of interest. What is the problem?
Icterus noted.
Icterus. That is the issue. And what other information is needed at this stage? May I ask Dr. Joshi? Child has icterus, and we want he's a very young baby in the first week of life. So what other information from liver point of view would like to know from you?
See, still this could be a physiological jaundice.
Yes.
So I need the basic information regarding what is the blood group of mother, what is the baby's blood group. Already you have told me that the baby is exclusively breastfed. So that is baby's taking the breastfeeding well. And this is the basic information I would like to know. More than that, I think I'm fine at this stage.
So this could be unconjugated jaundice. It could be conjugated jaundice. And as clinicians, before we hammer on to the laboratory, is there any point in the history that could make us to feel whether it is liver-related or not liver-related? Anybody can tell me. Pardon? Cholera? Color of urine, very important. So what will you say, what will you ask the mother, what is the color of the urine? Does it stain the diapers? Usually diapers are whitish in color, and if it is staining persistently, you'll start thinking that this is directly liver-related problem. So that is the clue in this patient. So what Dr. Joshi said is right. We have to differentiate between conjugated and unconjugated jaundice. Second point. Go to the next slide.
So the baby was brought back to the doctor 2 weeks later, and the mother complained of persistence of jaundice for the last 14 days and poor feeding and reduced activity of recent onset. On questioning, the stool was pale colored. There was no any history of fever and no family history of similar complaints. The mother observed that the other twin was thriving better.
So the point of interest, your point of interest.
Stool pale colored.
Stool is pale colored, that is one. What else is there before that?
Poor feeding and reduced activity.
Yes, that's very important. Poor feeding and reduced activity from last 2 days, jaundice persisting for 14 days, and stool okay. We'll dissect that later. So may I know from Dr. Nabi?
Yeah. See,
what is your evaluation at this stage?
See, any jaundice patient gets discharged, we should ask them to come back within 5-7 days to monitor. He came at 2 weeks with pale color stool with sick looking. This is sick looking jaundice, and definitely it looks pale colored. That means it's something obstructive, and plus it's unconjugated bilirubin. And the next question is whether it's a some infective origin because he's just sick looking. The first question I ask them is whether there is weight loss or weight gain at the end of 2 weeks. We follow them just to see whether he's coming back to birth weight. Normally they lose 7 to 10% birth weight in first 1 week. At the end of 2 weeks, they should cross the birth weight. Otherwise, we have a differential diagnosis of hepatic circulation, jaundice, breast milk jaundice, sick looking, weight loss jaundice.
So audience, please tell me that the point which is poor feeding and reduced activity in any child, irrespective of jaundice or no jaundice, are you alerted? Yes or no? What all you will think of? Maybe a couple of differentials you can give. Pardon? Sepsis, that's one. What else? Okay. Right. So that's very important. From liver sepsis connected, liver hypoglycemia connected, they are there. So you would like to look at that condition very internally. As far as the stool is concerned, the girl last year, stool is pale colored. So stool in any liver disease can be either pale, it can be pigmented also. So at this point of time, we are not very much concerned. We are concerned, but we'll a little later, not at this stage. So that is the evaluation here from this slide. Next slide, please.
So the baby was investigated. Hemoglobin and platelets were normal, but there was
At
leukocytosis.
day 17, DOL.
Day of life
October
17.
slide will be DOL. Date of?
Day of life.
Day of life. So
Day of
that is
life after birth.
17. Okay.
Hemoglobin and platelets were normal, and WBCs were 19,200. Alkaline phosphatase, SGOT, SGPT were normal. There was hyperbilirubinemia, mainly direct component. GGT was high, 410. Total proteins and INR was normal. CRP was high. Urine microscopy showed 12 to 15 WBCs per high power field, and urine culture showed Klebsiella growth.
So your
Yeah.
take, sir.
Yeah. Looking at it, looks CRP positive, WBC towards on higher side, definitely differential counts and plus toxic granules, shift of left to right, that all we can see as a pediatrician to see a sepsis marker, but definitely by looking at this slide, it looks like a urosepsis and with cholestasis. I don't agree, urosepsis is not so severely bad to cause secondarily cholestasis, so significant one. Whether is associated with something liver primary pathology with urosepsis. Because we should have a bad systemic thing at the end of few days, few weeks, we see a picture of cholestasis, not within 2-3 days of urosepsis.
Right. So the primary physicians or doctors, they have thought of sepsis in this patient, and that's how they have looked at that CRP, urine, looked for the etiology of that, although we don't have blood culture here. In any child, anybody can tell me other than pediatric GI people, any child who has sepsis and jaundice, which is conjugated, what is the commonest etiology you would think of? Anything which will alert you immediately. Look for that. Pardon? Diarrhea. Galactosemia. See, majority of these children will present with sepsis as a presentation, and they will have jaundice, which is conjugated, and they may or may not have hypoglycemia. So that is, you should be alerted to any child who has got sepsis along with. So here they have found on culture the Klebsiella is there positive. So you think they are independent or they are connected?
So basically in sepsis, you should see a little liver enzymes elevated first, and along with that mild bilirubin that comes up later on after a few days, not within 2-4 days. And enzymes are normal. And so significantly elevated bilirubin with urosepsis, I don't accept as a primary urosepsis leading to abnormal
Dr.
cholestasis.
Weicker, just crisp answer from you. In the LFT, we are finding 410 gamma GT. Does it alert you?
Yeah, definitely it alerts me, and I do agree with him. It will present sepsis with liver involvement, would have basically APTT more deranged and PT would be near normal, and your SGOT would be more deranged if it is not hepatotrophic, as I have earlier discussed also. Here enzymes are completely normal, but it happens in very rare cases of isolated B6 issues. But GGT normal is definitely I would take with a pinch of salt, and I would definitely like to follow up this case. Blood culture is must in this case, and we need to keep a follow up. At day 17, we need to be cautious enough. But I would not be in a hurry to do liver biopsy right now.
The stool color pale, conjugated jaundice, high gamma GT, and some evidence of infection there. There is evidence of infection
Yeah,
in the
it's
child.
it's there.
So, would you like to keep anything else in the
Right.
back of your
Yeah,
mind?
definitely. Galactosemia is one possibility. A neonatal hepatitis is presenting as with associated sepsis, which
High gamma GT.
yeah, we can't explain that. We need to follow up this
Right.
case. Yeah.
Next, please. Go ahead.
So the baby was treated with meropenem according to the sensitivity report, and RT feeds were given for poor feeding.
Right. Go ahead. Go ahead. We have discussed.
So after a week of treatment with antibiotics, the baby had started accepting feeds well and was gaining weight. His WBCs had come down to 15,400. His CRP was normal, urine microscopy was normal, and urine culture did not show any growth.
So 7 days later, the physician, they did urine again, culture.
Yes,
They
sir.
found that everything is settled.
Yes, sir.
Normally, Dr. Amdekar, I would like to know from you, you're an expert. Normally, if you have documented UTI in any baby or any child, would you like to repeat a urine culture if the patient is symptomatically improving? So if fever has subsided, everything is subsided, when is that time? First time UTI, you would like to do a repeat urine culture. Your experience, not the scientific data.
This is not a primary UTI, simply because the jaundice has been going on for some time and the baby has got sick thereafter. A urosepsis doesn't present with jaundice, it presents with a sepsis in which there is also jaundice. And often jaundice is not picked up by the parent but picked up by the physician. So this is certainly not that. We believe that when you said urine culture Klebsiella, it was significant colony count, because picking up a urine at this point of time is also not easy, and we need to be sure whether this was a significant colony count, which meant that there was really a urosepsis. If that was so, then very commonly you should have further gone on to investigate the reason behind the urosepsis. There could be an obstructive uropathy or VURO or whatever. So this is possibly something unrelated or even doubtful whether this was really an infection, because in a short time you got everything down to normal, and therefore I don't think we are very certain about this being a urinary tract infection, and if it is so, then it has not direct relation to a jaundice.
I just wanted to ask how clinically the child is on day 24 as compared to day 17.
So the child has not yet come to us. It was
No,
we
I am
just-
asking day 17 how
Sir,
the clinic.
had a weight gain of 2.
No, you did this investigation. How clinically the child is on day 24? Clinically,
He
is
is
it
better,
toxic
better,
look?
better.
Is bad?
Better.
Is better. He's
Yes,
better.
yes,
And
better. He's taking orally now, the child is taking orally.
So whatever
activity is
sepsis part
good,
was there, it is
fever
now getting
not
controlled.
there.
Whatever
sir.
it was there.
Okay.
Sir,
Next-
I'll
next
just
slide. Let us go
yes,
to the next.
I'll answer yours one question. Urosepsis, we need to document urine culture negative. Any first UTI in a male child, second UTI in a female child, we have to investigate further to look for any congenital urinary tract anomalies.
Have we done any blood culture on this child? Like, do we-
Meropenem, they said.
The blood culture.
Acha.
No.
No blood
must-
culture
you
is
must
available.
repeat. You
There is
must
no blood culture available from the documentation which we have received. No blood cultures are there. Blood sugar is also not there. But both the things should have been done in this child. Next, please. Next.
So after 7 days of antibiotic treatment, LFTs were alkaline phosphatase normal. Total bilirubin had come down to 3.8 and direct had come down to 2.1. Liver and SGOT, SGPT normal. GGT was similar 421. Total proteins, albumin had come down to 3.1,
One
and
degree.
INR was still normal.
So we find marginal, there's an improvement in bilirubin, but gamma GT remains same, and also the albumin is low, 3.1, although the INR has not deteriorated. Next slide, please.
So to summarize, this is a elective LSCS born average birth weight baby who was exclusively breastfed, who started passing clay-colored stools and had persistent jaundice with poor feeding, was diagnosed as Klebsiella urinary tract infection, treated with meropenem, after which total bilirubin had dropped.
No, keep it there, keep it there. We want to have a little discussion here. Audience, please tell me, are you happy now? The child has shown good activities, now feeding very well. Stool is still clay color, dark urine, the diaper staining of the urine is there, and jaundice is a little bit better. Are you happy? No, not at all. Why are you not happy? All right. Very good. That's it. The story has not ended. In fact, it may be a beginning of that story. Next, please.
So the baby was now referred to us with complaints of progressive jaundice from day of life 3, passing pale stools and not thriving well.
So possibilities, Dr. Vaikar. With these 3 points,
Yeah, in this case, there are two girls who are spoiling the spot. One is basically the infection which has been partially controlled, and second is something which is dealing either with cholangiocyte or hepatocyte, definitely not the reticuloendothelial part of the liver. So I would like to ask at day 45, again you have not shown me in the investigation, how clinically the child is.
how?
How clinically the child is.
Child is good.
Good.
Except jaundice, child is
He
good.
has came to me.
He is sucking milk.
Okay. So he's
activity is good.
the message I want to give
I
as
think,
such.
maybe a little development towards the social smile is
No.
there.
The message I wanted to give over here, if he's a kind of a, over the period of time, not sucking well,
No,
part.
everything is settled.
So he's a well baby.
See,
So our differential diagnosis go towards more now cholangiopathy. We are
Yeah.
moving towards cholangiopathy, which we need to
Which
keep in
one?
mind because your GGT has not dropped in spite of the drop
Correct,
of the
correct,
bilirubin.
correct.
So we have to think of cholangiopathy. It may be any of the 3 or 4 which we commonly see.
Now, first possibility, any child who has got conjugated jaundice which is persisting, even at 45 days of life, has a dark urine and is sucking everything fine, and stools
No.
are pale in color. What is the possibility? Pardon? What is the clinical possibility? जोर से बोलो ना, मैं सुन नहीं रहा हूँ. Huh? Biliary atresia. Very good. So first possibility, always think of biliary atresia.
So first thing here we have firstly presented he's at one of the twin. If other twin is thriving well and this child right from beginning has a problem not thriving well with jaundice persistent, that's a clear history. Problem is with the patient, not with the mom. Feeding issues and other things because other baby is absolutely fine, I assume. That means
The feeding issue probably
Yeah.
was a distractor, as we put in MCQs, a distractor.
Yeah.
But the story continues with this high-colored urine, pale stools, jaundice, high
Jaundice.
gamma GT is there. Right. Next slide, please. We have less of time.
So on examination, there was icterus. Weight was 4.2 kgs between 3rd and 10th percentile. Length was 55 centimeters, again between 3rd and 10th percentile. Liver was firm palpable, 3.5 centimeters below right costal margin. Liver span was 6.5 centimeters. Prominent abdominal veins, no ascites, splenomegaly or bleeding manifestations.
So right. There's something we have missed possibly. I would always say that probably the spleen has to be there. It is probably we have missed. Spleen must be there. Little bit but it should be there. Little means 3 times enlargement of normal span of the spleen. It has to be there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah.
So on investigation,
Presentation to us. The third column, you read.
so on investigations, CBC was
Anything abnormal in this? What is abnormal?
all the liver enzymes and total
Bilirubin.
bilirubin. raised.
Bilirubin has gone high, 11.2. AGOT, IGPT is high. Gamma GT is same, almost 458. Albumin is low, 3.1. And proteins are also low, 4.7.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, it is
Dr.
good.
Joshi, anything you
Yeah,
would like
it's-
to add?
As you can see from the numbers, the liver function is significantly deranged, sort of,
Hmm.
except the INR. And there is a progressive cholangiopathy.
Right,
As you
right.
can see, the increasing bilirubin as well as the enzymes. So I think that we need to investigate further and
All right. Agree. Audience, please. Alphas, 905. Pardon?
This child was born with 2.4 kg.
Yes.
At 45 days, he's 4.2. This is not 5%, 10%. This is 50th percentile. The growth is not hampered. So I want to know whether there is little edema there because of this hypoproteinemia associated, or it is a normally growing child. Up to 24th day, I am seeing AOTPT being absolutely all right. Now I am seeing suddenly increase. So are we having 2-3 things? First, the day 3 child could have been a physiological jaundice. Slight intermittent increase by a UTI at 14th day, and now after that he has developed something. His growth is quite all right. Don't say he's faltered. He has done
Right,
very
right.
well on his
You
growth
are
chart.
right, you are right.
So look at this on the background. So it's clearly obstructive jaundice, maybe a component of some hepatitis coming
Correct,
up there.
correct.
So whether this is neonatal
You are
hepatitis
right.
component coming here.
Very right, very right. And your comments on alkaline phosphatase, anybody? Dr. John discussed something in the quiz. Alkaline phosphatase, are you concerned 905? Huh? So you will give importance to alkaline phosphatase or gamma GT in this child? Gamma GT, correct. Fine. Next slide, please.
So the child was investigated. USG abdomen was done in a fasting state.
Why, Dr. Vaikar,
Right.
why do you want ultrasound suddenly?
No, this is required.
What do you want to see in ultrasound?
I sir wanted to ask ki what are the things you need to look for in a neonatal cholestasis for
Yes.
ultrasound. In ultrasound,
So
you
let
most
him-
of the times you get
let
mild
him-
hepatomegaly report which is no significance.
You can go through these
Right.
8 points. What is missing in ultrasound?
I would note these points and I would like to ask few points to radiologist also. He has said gallbladder is not well visualized even after fasting. How much fasting the child was? If it's fasting for 2.5
We don't
hours.
know,
it's-
no
okay.
information.
Okay, okay, it is very significant issue if gallbladder is not seen even after this. Triangular cord signs, I would like to ask specifically what is the perihepatic portal thickness.
They could not be seen.
So if it is more than 4 millimeter, that radiologists need to calculate it. If it is less than 4 millimeter, you may not be
We
able
are
to
not
see.
seeing now. See, the interest is that we should first of all
Gallbladder
see
is not visualized. That is most
number
important.
one is that gallbladder is important. Why gallbladder is important?
It is associated with the development of the biliary system. So there is some issues with the development of the biliary system. Therefore, gallbladder may not have been
What
formed.
is that condition in your mind which makes you to actually concentrate on gallbladder in this patient?
Well. Gallbladder length? No,
No,
I'm not
no,
getting
no.
you.
Why? What is that? What is that diagnosis with pale stools with
It is
persistent
biliary atresia, definitely.
biliary atresia. So in biliary atresia, what happens with the gallbladder?
Biliary atresia, gallbladder may be normally formed or it may be abnormal also. But
Correct.
if it is abnormally formed, then it becomes more easier for us to go ahead further.
And what is the other point which you
What
should
are
ask
other
the
points are-
ultrasonography? They will not do it easily.
Yeah,
unless
but you have
tell
to
them.
prel them right hepatic artery diameter. They are not gold standard, but right hepatic artery diameter more than 0.45, right hepatic artery by right portal vein ratio,
The
hepatic
gallbladder,
subcapsular flow.
gallbladder. Another point for gallbladder. One
It's
is
length
the-
of the gallbladder. Length of the gallbladder is
Okay, length
important.
is done, then
Yeah.
what else? Contraction of the
Contractions.
gallbladder. So the contractility of the gallbladder should be the second issue that should be actually looked at. And triangular cord sign, they have already looked at. This is nothing that a fibrous band at the porta, which may be present in biliary atresia. The other important thing in biliary atresia is cyst at the porta. If you find cyst at the porta, that is usually confused with the colorectal cyst. Cyst at porta goes all the time, almost all the time with biliary atresia. So that is so some of the information which the radiologist should have given us is not there. Right, Vaikar?
Oh.
Next slide, please.
HIDA scan was done after administering 5 days of phenobarbital. There was no excretion even after 24
I
hours.
would not waste 5 days for HIDA scan here. Now, day 45, day 50 of life, I will not do HIDA scan.
MRCP was done. There was no visualization of the intrahepatic and extrahepatic biliary tree. No biliary
Even MRCP is not required in this case. Why to do MRCP?
No, let us know the next one. Next one. So MRCP.
What is required, that's to be done.
Okay. Now, Dr. Vaikar, what is your interpretation? Now, liver biopsy not done, MRCP is not required, HIDA is not done, HIDA is done, no excretion. Your diagnosis.
This is biliary atresia, but we need to do liver biopsy.
So your high probability
Of
is
biliary atresia.
despite all these things. So, okay.
It depends on the presentation, as Dr. Vaikar rightly
what
said,
you-
See, on
intrahepatic
USG, if you are
cholangiogram.
not seeing any
Yeah.
political cyst, there is no point investing
Yeah.
5,000 rupees on MRCP.
Yeah,
So what do you
Cut it out.
intraoperative cholangiogram.
Liver
and
biopsy.
Decide same
Alright.
time.
What you would do?
I have two issues in this. I will just go to it, then you have your questions. Liver biopsy would tell you about two things. One is bile duct to portal tract ratio, which Dr. Mathai sir was very importantly underscoring it. And bile duct to portal tract ratio, if it is less, with associated biliary atresia, your Kasai may not be that much successful. And second is stage of fibrosis. If fibrosis stage is more than 3 and 4, you may not offer portal enterostomy.
Liver biopsy was not done because the patient did not agree.
Okay.
Parents. They did not accept.
Sir, refer to a good pediatric gastroenterologist, he will make him agree.
You give us non-invasive tests. Next, please.
So on
Baapre.
Quick.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Pardon.
Now, you have to read the guidelines which have been published by our own chapter. And more than, as you go beyond 100 days or 65 days, if there is a stage 3 and stage 4 fibrosis, your CASA is not going to work.
The biopsy,
Right. But
madam,
liver biopsy needs to be done. Let's see the findings. You are a pediatric surgeon? Yeah. Sir, my diagnosis is right. I learned from Amdekar, sir. Sir, no.
You address this question towards me. You are all the
Sir,
time
I can handle him. I can handle that question. No issues, sir.
See, number one, no, I will just cut it short. Pre-laparotomy liver biopsy is required for diagnosis. If you see a cyst at the porta, in my experience, on ultrasound, it is most probable is biliary atresia. I may not do liver biopsy, but I'm not telling the people not to do it. Liver biopsy is done. The decision of Kasai's operation is not based on histopathology. It is based on the day of life. That's it. So,
I do agree, ma'am. I got your question. May I answer it? Okay.
What,
Yeah.
what is your question? Quickly, we have less of time.
That instead of doing a biopsy pre-operatively,
Hmm.
waiting for 7 days for that report.
No, no, no,
No,
7
no,
days,
no,
2
7
days.
days are not
Private, 2
required.
days. Previous, my public sector hospital, 5 to 7 days. But private, 2 days.
So in Bombay, it takes 7 days.
No, no, you,
No,
you
no,
need
no,
to
no,
catch
no,
out
no.
of good pathologist.
That is also a problem. So once you do that
No, yeah,
biopsy,
No,
I do agree.
harm in doing an intracholangial.
no, no, harm is the.
There is no harm.
Let us see, we have debated a lot on these issues for last 30 years in this country. If you don't do biopsies, if you subject them to operation, surgery, exercise, 30% is negative laparotomy rate. In your best of the best institutions of this country, I have done a survey on that. Negative laparotomy rate 30%. Unnecessarily, you are subjecting the children to laparotomy when the diagnosis is not right. Therefore, you have to adopt. Pediatric surgeons in this country, with all the apologies, have to change the mindset. They have to go and accept liver biopsy as a prerequisite before the laparotomy is done. Our doing with the liver biopsies, we have only the rate of.
Sir, I do agree with you. I think let's go ahead. Let's leave. This child is dying, man. Come on, move ahead.
Okay, I will discuss with you
Sir.
later. Next one.
Sir, before you go ahead, can I make a small point?
Yes, yes, please.
The biggest point that needs to be debated is that this child came at day 24 and then has again presented at day 45.
Right, sir.
21 days have been lost.
MRCP.
21 days have been lost
Lost,
in
yes,
evaluating
yes.
this child. So at day 24, it should have been picked up.
Yes,
and then
certainly.
We should have been
Yes,
referred
yes.
earlier.
And that's the most important point.
That's very important, very important. As early as possible, the
Refer
diagnosis
to-
will be made. Next, please.
Diagnosis was confirmed via intracolangiogram and Kasai-Porto-enterostomy was done, after which the enzymes, the bilirubin came down to 1 after 3 months.
Done. All right, after surgery. Now, you are happy? We have done POC.
I am very happy with what you have done, but I would still follow this patient. It is not so easy.
Okay,
I do
that's
agree.
right. Now, very important, what happens following Kasai's operation, that everything is not rosy. Same is not true for transplantation also. If you do transplant, everything is not rosy following transplant, everything is settled. So cholangitis rates following Kasai's operation, 30 to 60%. They may also develop portal hypertension. They may have other problems associated. They may have progressive liver disease. But at the same time, majority of them will escape liver transplantation right of the adolescents. Maybe after that, they will require 80% of will require transplantation. We are buying a lot of time with this thing. So cholangitis is one of the major problems. And that's why we advocate prophylactic antibiotics in the children right at the beginning and the cyclic one that can be given, that can prevent cholangitis in these children. That's a very important pointer in this. Next, please.
So at 6 months of age, the baby was brought to us again with complaints of fever. CRP was 72. There was no growth on blood culture. USG showed hepatosplenomegaly with ascites. Stool and urine were normal. Total bilirubin was high, 1.4, direct bilirubin 1.1, and liver enzymes were raised.
Why you didn't give albumin? I want albumin.
Albumin is normal.
With ascites. See, you are presenting a case to a gastroenterologist. You will say ascites with hepatosplenomegaly, and I will look at it without albumin. मैं देख रहा हूँ यार albumin कहाँ गया?
Yeah, as we have discussed SAG ratio and everything.
Dr. Biker, the patient's bilirubin is a successful protein-enterostomy because bilirubin is normalized, everything is, liver spleen will persist, it will not go.
jokes apart.
Then other thing is now, what has happened, he has developed fever now. And CRP is very high. Of course, it means that infection is there. Stool and urine color are normal. So stool color normalcy means that your portoenterostomy is working well and bilirubin is normal. Now, no blood culture, no growth.
Blood culture, no growth.
No. Okay, go ahead.
So,
Next, what do you want to show?
treated as
Next.
cholangitis with meropenem, after which all the
Treated
enzymes
with
and
meropenem.
bilirubin came down.
Right, next.
3 months later, again the baby had fever.
Again
Was
fever.
taken to other hospital. CRP 65, no growth on blood culture.
So recurrent cholangitis is happening.
Treated
In
with
cholangitis, following Kasai, see, fever can be because of any unrelated thing. In any child, whether portoenterostomy done or not done, and fever and cholangitis have to be connected together. In those situations, stool will become pale in color to some extent, and also the bilirubin may go a little higher in cholangitis. There's no other way to differentiate this condition. Next, please.
so
Yes, sir, we are finishing.
treated
Quick.
treated with meropenem, but the fever did not subside. So he was
Again, cholangitis.
again brought back to us.
Okay.
Bile lakes were seen on USG. Aspiration and culture done. E. coli and enterococcus was grown. Tigecycline and teicoplanin given for 2 weeks.
Next.
CRP came down, but he again spiked.
Recurrent.
So parents were counseled about the
11.
need for transplant and transplanted at 11 months of age.
Indication of liver transplantation, recurrent cholangitis, and also these bile lakes which are in the liver now.
Bad prognosis.
Okay. You did a liver transplant.
So Kasai didn't work in this case.
Kasai worked, but cholangitis has been a major problem. You see, in biliary atresia, even if you do the Kasai surgery, some of them may develop intrahepatic biliary cysts, which are very, very difficult to treat. And the percentage is small, 2 to 3% of them may develop. And if it develops, no antibiotic actually works in them. So that is the problem in these patients. It can happen.
Can I ask you a question? Like in this patient, did steroids would have helped?
No role.
Pardon?
Steroids? Recurrent
Steroids
cholangitis.
we don't give nowadays. The trend is not for giving steroids post because that is generally given for the purposes of success to have the drainage, biliary drainage. But biliary drainage is already taking place in these patients.
Dr. Yacha, can you have the slide? Just once, just to show that when the patient is actually transplanted, his bilirubin is only 1.3. So, but the child is having recurrent cholangitis. So he's not even jaundice, but he still needs a transplant because of the recurrent cholangitis, and that's because he had those bile lakes. So those Kasais who have bile lakes are the ones who are not going to do well, and they may need a transplant. I think that's what we are learning.
That's what I said, that once they develop the biliary cysts inside the liver, difficult to treat. Very difficult. Next, please. Although I think I have no information, you should have put the prophylactic antibiotic cyclical in this patient following portoenterostomy. Now, post-transplant, everything is fine. And everything what consistent, the diagnosis consistent with biliary atresia. What is that in Abba? What is there in this eye here?
He's winking at the surgeon.
Next slide.
Brexit has been done.
So messages are very simple. Identification of infantile liver diseases on clinical basis, dark urine, jaundice, important. No wait and watch policy for dark urine and jaundice with Dr. Gupta, my friend from Birmingham. Pediatric GI liver person, a great name, has enumerated that no wait and watch policy is there, should be there. Injection vitamin K to be given irrespective of etiology, which might have been given in this patient. Gallbladder contactly to be assessed on ultrasonography in all children, which your radiologist will not do unless you insist upon them. MRCP role limited, not a role. Pre-laparotomy liver biopsy helps in diagnosis of biliary atresia. Recurrent cholangitis does occur post-Kasai in around 30 to 60% of the children. Intrahepatic cysts can develop, which have very bad prognosis in biliary atresia. Last slide. Blank. And thank you very much.